Okay, so there was the time I poked a Brazilian wandering spider in the face, which is the deadliest spider. If it bites you, you die.
What? Hello and welcome back to PerryPOD. What an insight into today's guest, Erin Thomas, international table tennis player. We've known each other for a few years now, but we don't talk too much about table tennis in this episode. We focus mainly on her travels all over the world, picking up deadly spiders and poking them in the face, climbing into volcanoes and so much more. But before we crack on with Erin's story, I want to say a massive thank you to the Turmeric Co who sponsor PerryPOD. The Turmeric Co's products are quickly becoming the gold standard for individuals who are searching for products that can positively impact their holistic health, with each ingredient selected offering extraordinary nutritional value. From the moment of launch, the Turmeric Co's primary goal was to help fulfill the lives of its customers through high quality, effective, yet natural turmeric-based shots. A range of proprietary blends in a shot format offers a convenient solution for people using turmeric as a regular part of their nutrition. No powders, no low quality filler ingredients such as apple juice or water. Only premium, raw and absorbable turmeric root is used in every shot, with a combination of other superfood ingredients, making this range an effective yet delicious option for people to support their daily health through natural nutrition. If you want to see these benefits for yourself, use code PERRY10 at checkout for 10% off. And also, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to hear more episodes of PerryPOD.
Hi, Martin.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Hopefully this time we can get the audio sorted.
Yes,
At least
you hear me okay?
I know, at least we've started off on a good foot. You know, we're not spending 10 minutes trying to get connected to each other, so that's good. So thanks again for agreeing to do PerryPOD for a second time round.
No problem.
So for those that are listening, Erin's already filmed this episode, and we had a great chat. We spoke for over an hour, and we were sharing stories, and Erin thankfully share those stories again, and it'll be good fun. And lo and behold, I got to the editing process, and all the audio just wasn't there. There was nothing whatsoever. So I had to sort of sheepishly message Erin back and say, can you come on PerryPOD again, and if you wouldn't mind. So thankfully Erin's here and she's agreed, and if it goes wrong this time, then I think it's probably a sign, either that or we're going to have to live stream it and then just hope that everyone sees it. But yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to do this again. So how have you been since last time we spoke? I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I've been good. So I was on holiday in Donegal for a week there, and we just had our national championships the past 2 weekends as well. So I've been busy enough.
Oh, brilliant. So what was Donegal like? What was the weather like?
I mean, it's Ireland, so it was a bit sunny, it was a bit rainy, but where we were staying had a hot tub, so I was happy enough.
Oh, brilliant. You
yeah.
Them, yeah, that's fantastic.
Exactly, doesn't matter.
Friends, or?
It was with some friends.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. So you spoke about the national championships there. How did you get on?
Oh, I got to the semi-finals in the women's, which is the best I've done in a senior national, so I was quite happy.
Brilliant. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Did you play doubles or anything like that, or just singles?
No, it's just singles. There was no doubles event or anything like that, obviously with like COVID restrictions.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But congratulations getting to the semi-final. As you said, your best achievement to date. So fantastic. How do you think you played? All right?
Yeah, I think I played quite well. So I was happy enough because I'd been training for a fair few weeks. We were allowed to start playing again. I think it was the beginning of August. So I had a solid month of training. So I was happy enough with how it went.
Brilliant. And you lost to the eventual winner, didn't you?
Yeah, I lost to Sophie early, which is fair enough. And we had some good rallies and some of the sets were a bit tight, so I was happy.
Brilliant. I mean, at least I know the saying, like, if I get put out in a competition and they go on to win, you're like, oh, well, at least I lost to the person that won. It kind of softens the blow a little bit. I mean, not really, but it kind of does. It helps you sleep a little bit better at night. That's what I tell myself anyway. But yeah, so brilliant. So do you want to, you can do your own introduction this time if you want, and tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are, what you do, and what your plans are for the future, and then we can jump into some stories if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll try. So
no pressure.
So I'm Erin. I'm from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Me and Martin know each other through table tennis circles. Like I've played for Northern Ireland and Ireland a few times as a senior and junior. And I just graduated from Durham University last year doing a master's degree in geology. And then I'm starting a PhD in Leicester this October, within geology as well, and still playing table tennis quite a lot.
That sounds busy.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
great introduction. I don't think I could have done any better myself. So you spoke about, obviously, you graduated from Durham Uni with a geology degree, and how did you get into that? Because I feel like that's something that you don't just get up one day and go, I'm going to go and study rocks and stuff.
Yeah, it is really random. And I didn't know what geology was really until about sort of sixth form in school. For ages, I thought I wanted to study marine biology. And I remember I was on the website for Plymouth University because they were quite good at marine science. And then I just saw a thing for earth science or geology, and I clicked on it and I read the course description, and it was all about sort of the history of Earth, volcanoes, earthquakes, all stuff I'd done in physical geography, but not in a lot of detail. And I just read it and it just clicked that was something that I really wanted to study. But no one had really told me what it was. Like, I'd never even heard of the word geology, I didn't think, up until that moment. So it worked out quite well.
I mean, that's a cool wee story, actually. You've discovered it on your own and just sort of fell in love with it. So, sixth form, you'd have been 17, 18?
Yeah,
So you're 18 in sixth form, you've discovered geology, but I know that from the last time we spoke, at 18 years old, you did something else pretty cool. And you pretty much just packed a bag, jumped on a plane and went to the other side of the world. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so whenever, I think it was upper sixth, and I already knew that I kind of wanted to travel and do all that sort of thing. So again, that fitted in quite well with the geology side of things. The British Exploring Society came into my school and gave a wee talk about the sort of stuff they did and all the expeditions they did around the world. And they were doing one to the Amazon rainforest that summer. And me and one of my best friends at the time, Natasha, just decided that was it. And we were going to sign up and we were going to go camp in the Amazon rainforest for a month after we left school.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, you're braver than me. I don't think I could do a month in the Amazon. So how did that, was there like a selection process? Like, how did that come about that you obviously you put your name in the hat, but were you like, was there some sort of vetting system? Like, I'm assuming they don't just gather up loads and loads of kids from around the country and take them to the Amazon.
Yeah, so there was a couple of telephone interviews, I remember, and then you had to like fundraise a certain amount of money. So they just had to sort of explain to you that you would have to fundraise and pay for it, and were you ready to do that sort of thing. And then there was a few like just checking that they thought that you would be the right sort of person to be able to do it. And then, yeah, a few weeks later, we got accepted.
And then what unfolded from there? Like, was there any prep you had to go through? Because if I was to go in the rainforest, I wouldn't have a clue what to do.
Yeah, so we had to go for a training weekend in England. And like, I'd already done a bit of camping and stuff like that before, but a lot of people in the group hadn't. So we had a camping weekend where they went through training, first aid. We had to learn how to use satellite phones and things like that, what to do in sort of emergency type situations, and a talk about the science we'd be doing out there and sort of what to expect. And we had all of our expedition leaders there that weekend as well. So all the training was sort of done in that one quite hectic weekend.
That it does sound quite good, but almost like a full-on intensive training course, sort of one-stop shop. You're now ready for the rainforest. So
yeah,
as I'm sure everyone that's listening knows, the Amazon is gigantic. So whereabouts exactly in the Amazon did you go?
So we were specifically in Manu National Park, which is in Peru. And it's an area of the rainforest that's quite well protected. It's quite pristine. And there's these mountains called the Pini Pini Mountains in that national park. And sort of the point of the expedition was that no big group of people had gone up and tried to climb these mountains and like mapped the biodiversity there. So the point of the expedition was to go up into the cloud forest, as it was called, on the top of the mountains, and sort of look around and see what sort of animals were up there.
The cloud forest. So I'm guessing you're at some serious elevation there if it's nicknamed the cloud forest.
Well, I think, yeah, because you were sort of near the Andes Mountains, so it was quite high, and then it was also just the humidity and condensation that meant you were literally hiking up through these clouds of moisture the higher up you got.
Wow, that's incredible. So what was the first thing that sort of hit you when you landed? Because I mean, I've not been to Peru. So I don't know, as you said, it was hot, humid and a bit sort of sweaty, but what was it like when you landed there? Were you excited, nervous, a bit sort of scared? Or
I think it was a bit of both. So we had to fly from London Heathrow to Bogota in Colombia. Bogota to Lima and then Lima to Cusco. And Cusco is like quite high up in the Andes Mountains. So the first thing I remember was actually how cold it was in Cusco and how bright the sun was. Because obviously you're up so high, like the sun it's actually brighter. So I remember my sunglasses were rubbish and I remember getting very sunburnt, even though it was actually quite cold.
Yeah, I can imagine that be a shock to the system. Obviously, you've got this blazing sun and then just shivering at the same time.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite add up. So you made your way into the rainforest, and like I'm terrified of bugs and insects and anything with more legs than me, which is pretty much most things. So like how did you deal with all that? Because I'm like there's got to be creepy crawlies and there's got to be like spiders and just all sorts in there. And did that not freak you out?
It did. Before I went, I did not like bugs or spiders. I was probably a little bit better than some of my friends, but like I still didn't want to hold spiders or go anywhere near them. And I remember the first night, whenever we hiked up and made our camp, my little group was just sort of sat around eating our dinner, and we noticed that there was a huge spider on one of the tents. It was literally like the size of my face. And we just sort of like all stood around, looked at it, took photos, and then we started to see all these other spiders around. And it was absolutely terrifying at first. And I remember the first morning waking up in the tent, and because obviously you could sort of see through the tent and the lighting, you could see the silhouettes of all these tarantulas and stuff that had just climbed up on your tent during the night.
Oh.
And it was awful. But like as the month went on, you did sort of just learn to live with it, and you sort of learned that if you don't go near them, they're not going to go near me. And like you just have to leave them alone. So by the end of the month, I don't think I really was that scared of spiders, unless it's something that I knew it could kill me. It was fine, but I'm very annoyed now because now my fear of spiders is coming back. Whenever I first got back from the Amazon, I wasn't fazed. Like I could hold all the wee ones here and stuff, but now I'm terrified of them again.
Yeah, no, you're not selling the Amazon to me. If there's spiders the size of your face, like I've got quite a chubby face, so if there's spiders out there that are that big, then I'm trying to run as fast as I can, because that sounds terrifying. So you said that you seen like one spider and you took a photo, and then all of a sudden you seen other spiders. There's something that you told me last time we spoke that absolutely terrified me, and I didn't know this. And you brought it to my attention, was that it was something to do with spiders' eyes.
Oh, yes.
They light up or glow in the dark or something. What was it?
Yeah, so one of the things we were told pretty early on is whenever you use your head torch at night to go to the toilets, or we would go on like nighttime hikes for a couple of hours as well to sort of see what animals were about then, was whenever you shine your head torch and you see like light like sparkling back at you in the trees, that it's probably a spider because they have night shine in their eyes. And you'd be sitting, it was like a big trench. We had to basically squat over to go to the toilet. And one of the big memories I have is sitting, squatting over this trench and shining my head torch down into it and seeing all this eye shine in the toilet. And it was all like the tarantulas that had crawled in to the toilet because they must have liked it in there. And they were all just sitting there every time you went for a toilet.
I don't think I would have struggled whatsoever going to the toilet if I seen just loads of spiders staring back at me. I would. There's a couple of phrases that come to mind that I'm sure you can imagine. But yeah, to me that's something from nightmares. That is. But so we'll move on from bugs and creepy crawlies. We'll probably come back to it at a later point because I feel itchy all of a sudden. You know, I feel like they're on me. But so you said that you were one of the first major groups or large groups to go and explore this area, and that must have been quite a privilege actually, you know, to be, because obviously, you know, we often say the world's so huge and then we go and have this sort of weird almost home-like experience somewhere and go, oh, the world's actually really small. But for you to go and explore somewhere that's never been tracked or traced before, that must have been so cool and such an amazing experience.
Yeah, and like when I say like the first large group of people, there is actually an indigenous tribe that lived in the national park, but obviously we just didn't know had they tried to climb to the top of the mountain range or not. So a lot of places sort of near the river in the national park would have had trails cut by other scientists who were working there, but whenever we tried to go up into the mountains, we had to physically use machetes ourselves to try and cut a path. So different groups would go up on different days and take slightly different routes and try and like cut away and see what the very best path was. And then I think our group was one of the first groups to sort of get up there all in one go in one day and finish the path up to the top, which was pretty cool.
It must have been quite tiring though, because, obviously like a machete is a very large blade and it has to be to cut through, what you're cutting down part of the rainforest. And so that must have been extremely tiring though.
It was, yeah. Like, I think I was a lot fitter back then than I am now, I think. And it was also quite tiring because at the beginning of the trip, we thought we were going to be able to camp at the top of the mountains. So there was a lot of trips taking sort of food supplies and camping equipment as far up the mountainside as we could go. And so we spent about 2 weeks doing that. And then it emerged that we couldn't camp at the top because the Peruvian army had said if something was to happen, if someone was to get injured, they couldn't airlift us from the top of the mountain. So then we had to spend the next few weeks bringing all the food and camping equipment back down the mountain.
Well, that would have kept you fit, I suppose.
Yeah.
But so what did you discover when you were up there? As very few people have been up there, as you said, and you were up there to try and explore and learn more about it. So what came out of that trip?
Well, a lot of the science, we were working with a charity called the Crease Foundation, and it was just a load of scientists mapping the biodiversity up there. And we took like butterfly traps and camera traps were all set around the place to document all the different wildlife there. And I think they just sort of discovered how biodiverse it is up there, even though like it's quite high up, it's not necessarily that close to the river. There was loads of animals up there. And the one thing I really remember from the top of the mountain is how squishy the ground was. It's a really weird thing to remember, but it was all covered in like moss, and it was like walking on a trampoline, I remember. And then all the scientists would be like, yes, that we weren't expecting that, but yeah, quite a cool thing to know.
And is that due to the humidity? And obviously the moss just grows because moss is just a fungus, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It was just it was so humid and you're literally in the clouds and there was just water everywhere. So the ground was very squishy and there was moss growing all over the trees.
So what did that come to? You've described the terrifying experiences of trying to go to the toilet and you've got tarantulas tickling your legs. But if you're up in the clouds and it's so hot and humid, what did you guys do to like stay clean? Because obviously you're going to be sweating all day. You're cutting down, bushes and trees and vines and all sorts and trekking loads of gear up and then inevitably back down the mountain. So what did you do to sort of like just stay fresh and yeah?
Yeah, so our camp was probably about a 10-15 minute hike up this big bank from the river, and there was a couple of different groups and we would all take days rotating. Like we'd be on a hike one day, maybe setting up camera traps another day, and then there'd always be a day in the week where one of the groups would have to stay in camp and clean everything, cook all the food and stuff like that. And on that day you were allowed to go down just to the river to wash yourself, and you have to take all your clothes and anything else that you wanted to wash down to the river. But it was almost pointless because as soon as you put your clothes back on and hiked up the hill back up to the camp, you were almost just as sweaty as whenever you came down. So it was just a constant cycle of thinking this time I will feel clean after this wash and then just never feeling clean for a whole month.
Wow, that it doesn't sound too fun, but I suppose it's an experience that you're going to have for the rest of your life, just being in the middle of the Amazon is just incredible. Is there something from that story or something from that experience that really sticks to your mind? Like, what was your favourite experience? What was your worst experience? Or is it just any funny moments that you've got? Because I feel like there could be loads here.
Oh yeah, there's a good few funny moments. The first one would probably be we were out on a hike one day and we would see spider monkeys literally every day. And I remember it was one of our very first hikes and there was a group of spider monkeys in the trees up above us. And the leader was like, guys, look up, spider monkeys. And I looked up and one of the spider monkeys peed in my eye and it went right in my eye and I literally just couldn't see out of that eye. And we had team doctors with us every time we went on a hike, and one of the doctors just grabbed me and was like, we have to get you back to camp now. And I was rushed back to camp to try and get the eye all washed and my face all sanitized and all. And because that was one of my very first experiences seeing a spider monkey.
So probably not the fondest of memories, but yeah.
No, I just think it was a funny story, so it was worth it.
I guess looking back, thankfully you can look back now, save the eye. But yeah, that's no, I give you that. That is quite comical. It's something that you almost can't write. You
exactly.
You get pee on your face. So what is the type of sort of animals that live in there? Obviously, you mentioned butterflies and spider monkeys, and obviously big tarantulas. But you mentioned earlier the diversity is something that you were there to discover. And what kind of species are we talking about that live there?
Yeah, so lots of insects. We saw lots of beetles, lots of different types of birds. I remember there was a toucan that just lived above our campsite and acted as our sort of alarm clock every morning.
Wow.
Would be making its noise, and that's what you'd wake up to every day. There was a lot of snakes. I remember one day there was a rainbow boa that was found outside our camp that then had to be moved, sort of in case it came into camp in the middle of the night. And there were some mammals. I think it was the week before or the week after we were there, there was a camera trap set right outside our campsite, and a jaguar got recorded on that. So there were jaguars and other sort of large mammals creeping around our campsite whenever we were there.
I just love how chilled you are talking about a jaguar just being spotted just while you were sleeping. Just either the week before or the week after, no biggie. It's just a jaguar. It can only rip off my face. It's fine. The way you talk about all the animals and to me, it's as I said earlier, it sounds like an absolute nightmare. I'm just not good with animals and insects and things like that. Like cats and dogs, I'm fine with. That, but that's probably where my sort of limitations go with cats and dogs and very domestic pets. And then after that, I'm just an absolute wimp. So I can only give you credit there. But you've done some other cool trips, So obviously you're in the Amazon, and it's awesome. But you've got a thing about mountains, haven't you? You've done, is it Kilimanjaro?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that's just incredible.
Yeah, so I had a really good 18 months whenever I first started university, where I was in Peru, went to India for the Commonwealth Championships, and then the following summer I did Kilimanjaro. And that was just a university expedition where we were climbing for a charity called Coco, which is based in Newcastle. And we went out to Tanzania, and the first week was sort of seeing the schools and the orphanages that the money we'd raised sort of helped build, and then spent a week climbing the mountain.
Brilliant. And what was the results of that? Obviously, you were helping the charity, and so you must have raised some funds or something. And what did that go back into?
Yeah, so I think we probably raised about maybe £5,000 or £6,000. I mean, I did it because obviously I wanted to climb Kilimanjaro, but obviously it was nice to raise money for the charity as well. And I think it went into raising building toilet blocks for a school and an orphanage that were sort of in and around the local area around Kilimanjaro.
That's incredible. That's as you said, it's something that's win-win. It's a massive achievement for yourself to climb Kilimanjaro, and the fact that by doing so you can give back to the local people and help them and help their kids go to school. So credit to you. That's absolutely incredible. So you said in between that little travelling sandwich, you had India for the Commonwealth Championships for table tennis.
Yeah.
So the air miles you've got must be incredible.
Yeah, I'm not doing climate change any favours, so I'm not.
So how was the table tennis? I've never been to India.
Well, it was mad, and I mean, to be honest, I don't think I personally didn't play very well, but it was a good trip, and it was just crazy having a stadium filled with people actually watching you play table tennis. Yeah. And our very first match was against India. So I think that match was broadcast properly on Indian television. And then I remember during the opening ceremony, there were all these people who wanted our autographs and things like that. And actually this mother came down with her baby from the stands and wanted me to hold her baby so she could get photos of me holding her child. And it was just mad that these people thought we were well-known, famous people. It was
getting to be everyone knows who you are.
So it was getting to be a celebrity for a week and a half. It was quite fun.
Brilliant. And whereabouts in India was the table tennis championships?
So it was in Surat. So we flew into Mumbai, and then I think it was about an 8-hour drive to Surat, which is still quite a big city in itself, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair trek, especially usually when you land somewhere, you hope that you're just, a short journey away. But 8 hours is just, you can, if you fly for 8 hours from the UK, it's a fair journey. So yeah, that must have been one lengthy trip. But you enjoyed India?
Yes, I did. I would love to go back and sort of travel around it properly.
Yeah, it's something I'd like to do. I think just India, that whole region of the world just interests me so much. You know, the amount of diverse history it's got is incredible. So, jumping forward again to Kilimanjaro, how did you find the climb itself? Because you know you've got to be obviously at a good level of fitness. You know, because you're climbing some serious altitude. You know, so the level up there, you've got to be obviously very physically fit. Was that a quite tough challenge, or did you find it okay, or was it a bit sort of peaks and troughs, or you know, just how did you get on?
For me, I found it more sort of mentally tough. I was very lucky in that I didn't really get affected by altitude sickness. Sort of, you got headaches and you would feel breathless. And then on the summit night itself, it was what I describe would be like having a panic attack or an asthma attack constantly, just very, very breathless. But other people were very, very nauseous, throwing up. Some people were like completely dazed and don't really remember a lot of the hike. But for me, I found it really mentally tough because whenever you got there and you just realised that all you were going to be doing was walking for 8 hours a day, and they make you walk really, really slowly so you don't get out of breath. And I struggled with that a lot because sort of I want to go and get it done, and I wanted to walk quickly and I wanted to get there as quickly as I could. And all the guides would say to you, no, you have to pace yourself, you have to go slowly. It's going to get a lot harder than this. So I remember actually being a bit bored during the day because everyone's a bit out of breath. No one really wants to talk. For a lot of it, you just sort of stuck your headphones in and got on with it. And then on summit night, the temperature was down to about minus 20 degrees. So everyone's phone died. So none of us were able to listen to music. And then it's sort of just hiking up in silence, feeling really breathless. So it was difficult, but I think the mental side of it is a lot harder than the physical side.
Yeah, I guess obviously everyone knows their own physical limitations. You know what you can push through and what you can't. But you know, it's interesting that you said that. It was you know, a mental battle because it makes sense now that you say it. You know, you wouldn't want to talk to someone because then you're just, you know, you're using much more energy and obviously you're using your lungs more, and then you know you can't breathe as it is. So to then go and have a conversation with someone is probably the last thing that you want. So
yeah,
I think that's a really interesting insight.
Yeah, we did have some fun moments where we would like sing and stuff with the guides whenever we were a bit lower down. But then the night of summit night, it was very much like no head down, no one talk, just try and get up to the top as slowly as possible.
Yeah, and so how long did it take you to get to the top?
So I think you can do it in several ways. You can either do a 3-day hike, which our guides told not to do. Apparently it's too dangerous. I think we did a 5-day hike up and then a 2 or 3 hike day down, because the hiking days are a lot longer whenever you're going up because you climb high and camp low, as they say. So the hike on the way up, you'll reach a certain peak and then you'll climb down a little bit lower to camp, and it's sort of to acclimatise your body for the altitude you're going to experience the next day.
Oh, right. Okay. So you don't just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah, because most of the time you'd get to about after lunchtime where you've reached the peak altitude that you're going to be at for that day, and everyone is very grumpy and hungry. And then as you start to climb down a little bit, everyone gets a little bit happier.
What is that? Because you know you're going in for some food?
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you take on a trip like this? Like in terms of food, like, you know, like, because I've never done anything like this. What kind of, is it rations? Is it tins of baked beans? What do you do?
Sort of. So most people who do it, they have to like go with a certified trekking company. So we had, I think it was about 10 of us together on the group, and we had like 3 guides who would be with us the whole time and would do the hike with us. But there was also a group of about 10 other people in our group, and they were unbelievably fit. Like their job was just hiking up and down Mount Kilimanjaro. So we would set off from our camp, and then everyone else would pack up our campsite, take all of our food, all of our water and everything, and they would basically sprint up the mountain past us because they're so used to the altitude and they're so fit, and they would have our campsite set up completely by the time we arrived there. And we would arrive in and they would come in, like take our heavy bags off us, take them to our tent, and they would have sort of the kitchen tent and the dining room tent all set up. So what we thought what we were doing was difficult, but it was nothing compared to what they were doing. And actually, whenever we flew there, our luggage got lost from Heathrow. So we had to delay the climb by a couple of days, and then most of the stuff arrived apart from one girl's. So we kind of got through most of the trek just giving stuff to her, but then it got up to the point, the camp just below where we went up to the final camp before summit night. And the guys were like, we can't like give her any more of our clothing. It's so cold that we need all of the stuff that we have. But then her bag miraculously arrived. And so a porter climbed most of the mountain in one day so she could get her bag, so she could finish the trek. So we were all very proud of ourselves for climbing it, but I was just absolutely in awe with the people who did it for a living. And then I remember walking down from the summit with one of the guides asking, oh, so are you going to have a holiday now? What are you going to do? And he said, no, we pick up the next group tomorrow and we go again. Jeez, so it was absolutely incredible.
As you said, these people must just be super fit. You know, you're thinking you're doing it in 3 or 5 days as you did it. And this guy just runs up it in one just to.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, talk about making you feel bad about your efforts, you know. You're slogging up the mountain and he's just like, yeah, don't worry me, I'll pack up your tent and run ahead of you.
They would literally run up the mountain past you carrying basically a whole tent on their backs. It was incredible.
Wow, credit to them. So you clearly have such a love and passion for all things outdoors and exploring, and that's led you on to your sort of next stage of life. You mentioned obviously you were at Durham Uni, and in your fantastic intro, you mentioned you've moved on and you're now doing, is it a postgrad or is it a doctorate?
Yeah, it's a PhD, so postdoctorate.
And what is that in, and where are you doing it, and tell us all about it.
Yeah, so it's at the University of Leicester, and it's in partnership with a mining company called Anglo American, and it's studying this formation called the Bushveld Complex in South Africa, and it's basically this massive magmatic intrusion. So what you would call lava above ground, we call magma below ground, and it's this massive intrusion of magma. I think it's the size of Northern Ireland, or probably slightly bigger. In South Africa, and it's one of the biggest sort of metal deposits in the world. So there's a lot of platinum group elements, chromite, nickel. I think there's some gold there as well. And my PhD is going to be studying a little part in the north that they've only just discovered of it, and investigating how it got emplaced in the crust, and basically why is it so rich in these metals.
Yeah. That's going to be incredible. So are you going to have a chance to go out there, or are you just studying solely in Leicester? Or
yeah, so I think the plan, obviously before Corona, was to have I think 2 or 3 field seasons out there. I was supposed to be going out shortly after Christmas, but I think this year it'll probably be put off a little bit, but I will hopefully get to go out there a couple of times to do field work.
That'd be incredible. And so what kind of, when you say field work, what would that entail? Because you're talking about lava when it's above ground and magma below. The only thing I know about that is that it's obviously extremely hot.
Yeah.
So
well, at the minute,
I'm assuming you're not taking samples of it. So what does that entail?
Well, at the minute, like, it's all crystallized into rock now. So a lot of it will just be sort of field work, walking around looking at the rock. And then a lot of it is underneath the ground. So there's a number of boreholes that I think I'll have to go and sample from. And then the other side of my project is looking at the sort of structural emplacement of it. So I'll be going around and doing mapping of the structural features like the faults and things like that to sort of understand how it got where it is in the first place.
Yeah, that's incredible. So have you done stuff like this in the past? Like, going around taking samples of things like that? I'm assuming you did similar stuff when you were at Durham, studying earth science and geology. So you must have had some experience in this.
Yeah, like I've done mapping and similar things, but not on this scale before, and not on this one specific thing for such a long amount of time. So I'm quite excited to get out there when I can.
Brilliant. And I remember last time we chatted, you spoke about you had this trip around like a volcano as well, I believe.
Yeah, so this is what I was doing this time last year. So I did an internship in August last year with a company called Geo Intern. And this was sort of back when I thought I was going to be a volcanologist and I was going to study volcanoes, but I'm past that now. And I did an internship working with the Volcano Observatory in Tenerife. So a lot of people don't know that when they go to Tenerife, it's an active volcano. And the biggest volcano on it is called Mount Teide, which I think if you include it in Spain, it's like the highest peak in Spain. So it's very, very high up. And I was studying the degassing from the summit crater. So the different types of gases that were being emitted from the volcano. And you can study those gases, and in theory, it can help predict like future eruptions or the activity going on below the volcano. So I did a month-long internship monitoring those gases coming out of the volcano.
So is it something like you see in the movies where they have on these like shiny silver shell suits and you sort of like dip in some specially coated test tube from like a 2-meter stick into some lava? Or what actually goes on in a volcano?
Well, so it wasn't as bad as that. The crater itself was actually quite small. So we would have to get a cable car up to sort of about halfway up the volcano. And then there would be quite a long hike carrying all the equipment. And then the tourists, if they booked a special guide, were allowed to sort of walk along the outside of the crater. And it always felt quite cool and quite special being able to sort of go down into the crater and have the tourists waving at you, taking photos. But the crater itself, I'd say, was probably only about 30 or 40 meters across. And it's all like filled in. There's no lava or anything like that, but it is very hot and you can see cracks and stuff where there is gas being emitted. And there was lots of yellow, which would be sulfur that's been precipitated out from the gases. And we would have different points just within the crater that we would go in, stick our little probes in the ground, and that would measure the temperature. And we had our syringes and a wee gas chamber that we would sit on the surface, and it would measure the gas that was being emitted at that certain point.
And as you said, those results then allow you to track, sort of what's happening underneath the stuff that we can't see and predict future or potential eruptions.
Yeah, so it's just part of the long-term monitoring they have to do of that volcano. And I think the theory goes that if the gas emissions increase suddenly quite a lot, then that is a sign that the volcano is becoming more active and could potentially erupt.
Yeah, and when you say the crater was filled in, was that filled in by like dried up lava from, explosions gone by, or is it man-made, or is it a bit of both? Or
I think it was very dusty and it was just sort of filled in by rock. So from previous eruption, and then there was like ashy sort of material. And then, and it was just very hot along the surface, and you'd have to be very careful of where you sat in the crater, because there were certain places where you would sit and it would literally burn a hole in your trousers. We were measuring temperatures of up to about 70 degrees just from where you touch the ground at certain places. So I ruined my favourite pair of Team Durham leggings that month, and there's a massive hole in the side of them, and I'm still not over it.
So if anyone from Team Durham happens to pick this up, can we please send Erin some new leggings?
I would love a new pair of leggings, please.
and I'll take a hoodie for the plug. I'll do that for the shout out. Right. So do you need like specialized footwear or something to do that? Because obviously you said like you're just in leggings, so that's just like regular clothing, but that shouldn't come in contact with the really hot ground, obviously, when you leaned on it. But do you need some sort of like specialized footwear that you don't burn up your feet? Or
it was just like quite
trainers?
thick. Yeah, quite thick hiking boots is what we needed. And obviously you just wouldn't really stand where the really hot bits are, but sometimes you just didn't really know that bit was that hot and you got caught off guard, but then you did know for the next time you went up.
Brilliant. So when is it you're due to start at university for your PhD?
It's the end of the month, so I think it's the 25th of September I'm going to officially move over there.
So not long at all, I'm not so excited.
I've taken a year out after graduating last year, so it's been really nice being back at home and sort of getting to see everyone, because I had been living basically in England for the whole time for the past 4 years. So it's been so nice being back home, but I'm looking forward to going and starting that new chapter.
Yeah, and just exploring more. That seems to be your thing. You're an explorer. That's what you do, and you can see how much enjoyment you get from it. And you've obviously got some incredible stories. So once you're a PhD and you've travelled, the rest of the world, what's your plans? How would you implement your PhD? Would it get you a job lecturing, or would it get you a job at some other mining company, or what's the goals?
So it could be both, really, and at the minute, I haven't really properly decided. After a PhD, you would usually go and do something called a postdoc, which would be like another 2 or 3 years researching at a university. So I might go in to do something like that. But ideally, I think I would like to work for a mining company, just because I think it's a better way of that sort of research having an actual impact on the world. I feel like at universities, there's a lot of sort of research for the sake of research, and it's not actually going to impact society for many, many years. So I would quite like to work for a mining company and sort of have my research and my work actually be implemented. because a lot of the minerals and metals that are being looked at in my PhD, they're really important for green technologies and renewable energy industries. So I would really like to work with mining companies finding deposits like that and understanding them a bit more, and it's sort of helping the move to a more low carbon society.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. You know, it's something that the world as a whole, we all need to become more green, and, you know, we all need to do our bit. And, you know, if you would use your knowledge and experience to go and help that, then, you know, just credit to you, that'd be absolutely amazing. Is there, in the sort of the sciencey field and, you know, the circles that you keep, is there a gender imbalance? You know, you often hear the stereotypes that scientists and you know, engineers and things like that, they tend to be male. And is that something you've encountered, or have you actually had a different experience, or is it something that you think's changing, or are we all just completely wrong?
Yeah, well, at university there was definitely a lot more men in the course, but there was still a fair few girls, and sort of within geology especially, it's sort of a very male-dominated industry, and even more so within mining and economic geology as well. But it's like, I've never really had any negative experiences with it, so I've sort of haven't really been affected too much. But having said that, whenever I was doing the internship in Tenerife, all of the scientists I worked with were female as well, which was really, really nice. It was amazing walking into a lab and it being all women. That was the first time I'd really experienced that. So I think the tide is changing slowly.
Yeah, and I think that's something that hopefully, you know, when we put this episode out, that actually, you know, you've had some incredible experiences, some amazing fun trips, and, you know, you're just traveling the world and doing all these fantastic experiences. And if that's something that we can, you know, help spread and get more girls into science and, you know, following in your footsteps, and that'd be incredible, because the stories you've got are amazing. You know, personally, I think they're terrifying with the spiders the size of your face, but, you know, I'm sure it will inspire someone to go and look more into science and to be more active in that field, because, you know, it's something that we do need to push. You know, we do need more women in science, and we do need more sort of advocates and role models for these young people growing up. And I think, you know, the fact that you have what seems like only positive experiences and just such a passion for it, I'm sure that it wouldn't be difficult for you to continue to share your story and to, you know, further your education and hopefully get a job with a big mining company and turn us all green and eco-friendly.
Yeah, hopefully. That's the plan anyway.
No pressure.
I know. I'll try my best.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this for a second time. I hope there's not anything that we missed. And I know that actually, just from memory, we have brought out a few news stories there, which is incredible. So I'm really sorry you had to do it again. But also, okay. I'm really glad because we got some news stories out of it, and that makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun. So I just want to say thank you again. And, you know, I hope that you do eventually get out to South Africa, you know, sooner rather than later. But obviously, you know, the current restrictions that everyone has in place, we just have to play by the rules. But yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this. And I'll get it posted, I'll get it out there, and I'll let you know.
Oh, no problem, Martin. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
Both times.
I'm sure you'll hear from me again in like 2 days. Like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, fingers crossed.
And then you can just tell me to do one after that.
I have more stories, don't worry.
Well, if you want to share them, I can always cut them in. I can always edit them if you want to.
Possibly. We'll see. We will.
Right, I've now put you on the spot. You need to give me one more funny story. Just pick a time, I'll edit it in.
Okay, so there was the time I poked a Brazilian wandering spider in the face, which is the deadliest spider. If it bites you, you die. And it climbed into a biscuit pack that we had on the floor. And someone went, "Oh, Erin, it's dead. Poke it in the face." So I started prodding it in the and then it bit through the biscuit pack, and I just about got my hand away in time. And then the leaders had to take it away and kill it. But like, if that spider had got me, I would be dead. So I would. So.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, so we thought it was dead, and then I poked it, and then it tried to bite me, and it just about missed me.
Wow.
So yeah, I dislike spiders.
This was in Peru?
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that. Don't know anyone else try and poke a Brazilian wandering spider in the face.
And how would you know a Brazilian wandering spider? So how do I know to run away from this? What does it look like? And don't say it's got 8 legs.
It has 8 legs and they're big and black. I remember there was like some distinguishing feature that we got taught at the time, which I can't remember, so I'm not being very helpful. But I remember we knew what it was at the time. We thought it was dead, and we were like, usually we're not allowed to go near these, so let's have a wee look at it. And then it ended up not being dead. It resurrected in the crisp packet.
Wow. And how do they like capture it? How do they get rid of it? I said obviously they've taken it away from camp and killed it, because obviously it could do you guys some serious damage. But like, how do they just capture this thing? So obviously it's
I don't even know. I was just sort of ushered away.
You were too busy booking a plane ticket back home. Like, just you're off.
Yeah, I was in too much shock. The leaders were like, "Erin, just leave. Like, look at what you've done." And then they just took it away. I don't know if they killed it. They may have just released it, but they were just like, "Yeah, it won't bother us anymore." So.
Wow. And when you say you were poking it in the face, was it with a stick or was it with your finger?
No, it was with my finger. I was pretty confident it was dead.
You're mental.
I know. I look back at it now and I'm like, I'm such an idiot. And I'd never do anything like that again.
No, I would hope not.
No.
Like, and so when you say you would have died, how quick are we talking?
I mean, I don't think it would be that quick. I think it's like a couple of hours, but it's quickly enough. And we were so far in the rainforest that,
quick. Yeah,
like there wouldn't have been any help for me.
Yeah, that is. I want to say brave, but I've got another word in my head that I'll probably keep to myself.
Not very brave. Don't do it, kids.
But yeah, okay. Well, I think I got my story that I wanted there. So yeah, that's ridiculous. I can't believe you did that. You're an absolute nutter.
Neither can I.
But yeah, just poking one of the most deadliest spiders in the world in the face with my finger. Mm-hmm. No biggie. You are crazy. Well, on that note, I'll say good evening. So yeah, so thank you so much again. I've really enjoyed it.
No problem, Martin.
I can't wait to edit up this spider story because I think I can get some good laughs from it. But yeah, thank you so much again, and I'll let you know when it's all going to come out and things like that.
Yes,
so
perfect.
The only thing I ask for you is just when it comes out, just hit that retweet button about 10 times and spread the word because it's your story. So the more you plug it, the more everyone gets to see it. And I do genuinely think it would be great to get more young women involved in science.
Oh, well, that's great. Thank you so much, Martin.
Thanks again.
Okay, have a nice evening. Bye.